I have in front of me a lengthy statement from the New York Giants regarding the Brian Flores situation. So if I may, they even include the exact day, January 27th, the day that Brian Flores was interviewed, exactly what took place and who was involved throughout that day. So I'll get to that in a second, but let me start with this, if I may. Brian Flores has raised serious issues in the filing of his complaint. The specific claims against the Giants and Mr. Flores' allegation about the legitimacy of his candidacy for our head coach position are disturbing and simply false. After we interviewed 6 exceptional and diverse candidates, the decision on who we would hire as head coach was made on the evening of January 28th, one day after Mr. Flores spent an entire day in our offices going through his second interview for the position, meeting with ownership and other staff members, and receiving a tour of our facility. There is additional concrete and objective evidence to substantiate we did not make our decision until the evening of the 28th.
And for the record, the 28th is that Friday when the news broke out. So that would be after they not only conducted the interview with Brian, but the interview with Leslie, which was Friday morning.
So they're saying so far they didn't decide who to hire until the evening of the 28th, a few hours after Leslie Frazier left the building.
Yeah, the news came out, for the record, at about 4 o'clock on that Friday.
Well, if the news came out that Dable was the coach at 4 o'clock on Friday.
About 4:30 or so, yeah.
How did you make the decision Friday evening?
No, they probably didn't, Craig.
Oh, okay.
That's what they're claiming. I mean, I don't necessarily believe it.
It got reported, I think, by Ian Rappaport. We went over the time yesterday, like 4:30. It was like 2 hours after Frazier left the building. It was reported that Dable had the job.
Yes. The first report about Dable getting the job was Friday late afternoon.
Can you
I think the
please
Giants
check the time again?
I
Sorry.
did.
I know. I won't do it again. I know.
Now, again, that was a report, so the Giants can say, "I was a report." Doesn't mean we actually decided.
Okay. To base that allegation on a text message with Bill Belichick, in which he ultimately states that he thinks Brian Dable would get the job, is irresponsible. The text exchange occurred the day before Dable's in-person interview even took place. Giants ownership would never hire a head coach based only on a 20-minute Zoom interview, which is all that Mr. Dable had at that point. In addition, Mr. Belichick does not speak for and has no affiliation with the Giants. His text exchange provides no insight into what actually transpired during our head coaching search. All right. It has been well documented how much research and due diligence we did on Mr. Flores as it related to his candidacy. John Mara called Mr. Flores 2 days after he was dismissed in Miami. Mr. Mara expressed to Mr. Flores on a January 12th call that once we had our new GM in place, we would begin the process of hiring our head coach, and we wanted to meet with Mr. Flores because we considered him a serious candidate for the position. Mr. Maurer and Mr. Flores had their first formal conversation in a 25 to 30-minute Zoom call on January 18th at Flores' request to further discuss his candidacy. All right? That doesn't seem like it's up for debate. That seems pretty...
Which aspect of it? The fact they had a Zoom?
Yeah, that they had the date they had the Zoom call and all that stuff, right? All right. In between the initial conversations and Mr. Flores' in-person interview on the 27th, there were several other communications between Mr. Flores and members of our organization. This included dinner with our newly hired general manager, Joe Shane, the night before Mr. Flores' in-person interview. The consensus from within the Giants organization after this dinner remained that Mr. Flores was an outstanding candidate, and we look forward to sitting down with him in person the next day. Our hiring process, and most certainly our consideration of Mr. Flores, was serious and genuine. We are disappointed to learn that Mr. Flores was under the mistaken impression the job had already been awarded. Well, I will say this. It was awarded pretty quick after the last interview. In the CBS interview yesterday, Mr. Flores was asked, quote, do clubs have the right to hire the person they think is the best qualified for the job or the person they feel is right for them? Mr. Flores responded, they do. That's very reasonable to me, end of quote. That's exactly what we did. We hired Brian Daboll as our head coach at the conclusion of an open and thorough interview process. No decision was made and no job offer was extended until the evening of January 28th, a full day after Mr. Flores' in-person interview and day-long visit to the Giants. Well, that's interesting.
Well, it's interesting.
Well,
that it took them 2 days to come out with a forceful, detailed statement.
No, that's fine. You want to make sure what you put out that you have is well thought.
The quickness of hiring people from Friday afternoon to Friday night, it moved lightning quick.
I mean that part's. I mean, come on.
You know what it is though, and I thought Boomer gave us a preview of it this morning.
We didn't sign the contract till the 28th.
Yeah, it's semantics.
Right.
That's what I got from Boomer this morning. That's exactly what I got from the Giants. It's we never offered him the job. And it wasn't accepted until Friday. Well, did you talk to his agent a few days before that? And if you did, is that okay? Like I asked you, is it kosher to, before you've concluded your interviews, start discussing a potential contract for a head coach under the guise of, well, we haven't offered the job yet. We're just talking about the contract just in case. How would you take that?
Well, listen, I'd also like to know, when was the contract signed, right?
Well, the contract was probably signed Friday night. I would think that part's accurate. But if they're talking...
Well, you're telling me that you reviewed what's, I'm sure, a 100-page contract and executed it in a matter of a couple hours?
Well, maybe not signed, but... that could have been signed over the weekend, obviously.
Yeah,
if they've agreed on the
terms of it.
Right. But if you're talking to the agent Tuesday night, is that not offering him the job?
I don't know. Again... If they offered him the job, they offered him the job. I don't know.
So if they offered him the job Tuesday night, if they're talking to the agent about the terms of a deal Tuesday night or Wednesday night, isn't that breaking the spirit of the Rooney Rule?
Spiritually, yes. Here's the itinerary. 8:45 arrival at Quest with Joe Shane. 9 a.m. met with John Mara, Chris Mara, Steve Tisch, and Joe Shane. 12 o'clock lunch. A facility tour with Tim McDonald. 1 o'clock, met with Pat Hanlon, Jen Escalante, Dion Dargan. I believe that's the PR team. 1:45, met with Ronnie Barnes and Jesse Armstead. 2:30, met with Allison Stangby. I apologize if I mispronounced that. And Pete Gwelly. 3:30, met with Joe Shane again, and that's a wrap. Okay, so there you go. So the New York Giants have responded with vigor. Vigor. But again, I think it's kind of what Boomer alluded to this morning and what we're saying now. They're going to hold on to the fact that until that contract was signed, there was no deal.
Don't they also have a pretty good claim here on the idea if the Belichick texts were what really made Flores feel this way, the fact that text exchange happened before they even met with Daboll? They didn't even have an interview with him yet, and they've offered him a job, and Belichick knows about it?
Well, it's possible in that Joe Shane said, this is who I'm hiring. I already know the guy.
Right.
I mean, again, if we're believing that Joe Shane was given the full authority to name a head coach, it's certainly possible he was saying to ownership, this is the guy. The interview is more for Mara and Tisch than it is for Joe Shane. I think we'd agree with that since he already knows him.
So if the circles are Joe Shane and his Buffalo people that Daboll's going to have the job, but the Maras aren't there yet, can a GM break the Rooney Rule?
That's the technicality of it. Like, what is breaking the rule?
Well, it's a team rule. It's not an owner rule. It's a team rule.
Right. If you're talking to the agent of a head coach on Wednesday before the interview process is done, and you're talking financials, you're negotiating a contract, even though, yes, Daboll's still a candidate with Miami, is that not offering the job? What do you say? You've been in negotiations before. Is that not offering a job?
Say it again. I'll tell you. Say it again.
You're negotiating with the agent on a contract.
Yeah, you've offered me the job.
Okay, so they were
So it goes
talking.
in this stage. It goes, we want to hire you for the job. All right, talk to my agent. Now we're negotiating with the agent after having offered you the job. All right, now we're just negotiating numbers. That's all we're doing. I'm going to be the head coach. You're going to pay me X. So again, the Giants' defense here, which I'm not saying it's a weak one at all. It's a legitimate defense. We didn't sign the contract with them until after we met with all the candidates.
Right.
And we know that's what the defense was going to be. We said it yesterday. We said it at 2 o'clock today.
Right. Now, as far as the bill,
that's the only defense you got.
well, the other thing they said is Bill said, I think you got a job. That was his second message. His first message was, I hear from Buffalo and NYG that you are their guy. That's not I think, you're the guy. He went with the I think after he said, sorry, I effed this up. I double-checked and I misread the text. I think they're naming Daboll. I'm sorry about that.
Right.
But his first message was, you're their guy. That was Belichick's words.
Yeah.
Now the Giants are saying, what does Bill Belichick know? They're saying, what the hell does he know?
Well, obviously, they got to distance themselves from Belichick. Somebody called Belichick up and told him.
And Bill said
Right.
in his text message, Bill said, I hear from Buffalo and NYG. So Bill is saying I heard it from both ends.
Yeah. Just double-check the date of the Belichick
So I'm
text,
looking.
would you?
I don't see the date on the text message. Is
You
it in the
don't.
lawsuit? Have we looked where, like maybe it says it in the lawsuit?
Well, there's a picture of it. I thought there might be a date.
So in the picture of it, all it says is yesterday and then a time attachment.
We
Doesn't he
don't
say
know.
I'm meeting with them in 3 days?
Oh, let me read this. I interview on Thursday.
I know that's all it says. Yeah.
That's all it says, which doesn't help us at all.
No.
So I'd have to look at the lawsuit. It says if it specifies, but in the screenshot, it doesn't specify a date.
Look, the Giants are doing the right thing. They have to come out in this manner. They have to be forceful. They have to defend their honor and integrity. And like we've said, and I'm sorry to be repetitive on this, we have said all along, that is the defense.
Right.
That we did not sign anyone to be our head coach until after we met with every candidate.
Right.
Now, it's a bit of a game we're playing.
It is.
As Evan is pointing out, I think correctly, and that is, if you verbally tell me I'm your guy and you're negotiating the terms of the deal with my agent, you've offered me the job. Now, does it matter when I sign? Yeah, well, theoretically, to be fair to the New York Giants, it matters in this case. It matters that theoretically, the Miami Dolphins could have come in and said, have you signed a contract yet? No, I haven't. Okay, we'll give you 5 years, $8 million per year.
Right.
Okay, great. Let's get it done. So there is that wiggle room between a verbal offer, a negotiation, and the ultimate signing where, yes, he could have gone somewhere else.
How does the NFL view it? Because they're the ones that
The NFL is going to support the Giants.
Well, no. But how, in the spirit of the Rooney Rule, when they wrote this thing 20 years ago, and they've obviously changed it over the years, in the spirit of it, do they deem you as breaking the rule if you're talking to an agent about the job, which is essentially negotiating, before you have fulfilled the entirety of the rule? How do they view it? The NFL. They're the ones who created the rule.
The NFL are going to support the Giants.
No, you're missing my point. I know now they are.
Yeah.
When they made the rule, there's been coaching interviews every single year.
Yeah.
How did they view it?
I think this would be viewed as skirting the spirit of the rule.
That's all I'm asking. And by the way, I went through the lawsuit real quick. They don't specify when Bill sent that text to Flores. I don't see it. I don't know when that day was.
For some reason, I can't make this image any larger.
Were you talking about the text image?
Yeah.
No, I've made it
Is
large.
there one
There's
place
no
there where
date.
it says a day?
No, because I'm looking at the lawsuit and it says the
What's it say right before the one that says, sorry, I effed this up? In small print.
Yesterday, 4:51.
Oh, okay. It doesn't say a
That's
date.
the problem. It's all yesterday, today.
Okay. And what's it say above, sounds like you have landed?
Sounds like you have landed.
Yeah, which is a start.
Yesterday,
Oh, it's also
2:30,
yesterday?
8 p.m. Yeah, there's no dates on it.
Got it.
So I'm not
Got
sure.
it.
But I guess I'll ask you, if it was Monday before Daboll interviewed, does that change things as compared to if it was
No.
Tuesday or Wednesday?
No. Because it still means that somebody picked up the phone and called Belichick and said, hey, we're going with Dable.
Right.
I mean, that's, again. Now, is that enough for the Giants to in some way lose? Probably not. But there's a difference between Are the Giants going to be penalized under the Rooney Rule provisions versus what's the court of public opinion say? I don't think the Giants are getting fined. I don't think they're losing draft picks. I think the NFL will wind up on the side of the New York Giants.
Well, I also think the court of
But I don't
public
think
opinion...
public opinion feels the same way.
I disagree. I think public opinion is going to lean towards
The
we
Giants?
don't care anymore.
Oh, yeah. But
And that's a win for the Giants.
if
I
the
hate
public
to say
had
it.
to pick a side of what they think happened, they think that Flores got screwed.
Okay, so they're going to lean towards that, but by the time, and we may be already there today on Thursday, most people who are Giant fans are going to start to not care.
Yes, I'm with you
So
on
the
that.
court of public opinion goes to not care. By the
Yes.
way, everyone's released a statement. The Giants, Stephen Ross, John Elway. The only person we haven't heard from yet is Bill Belichick.
He's not going to talk on
At
it.
all.
He's not going to say anything.
He's not going to release any
By the way,
statement.
and anyone that thinks that Roger Goodell is going to say something about this on Friday next week during the State of the League address, he's not.
Who's going to be asked about it?
He's going to be asked, but he's going to say, I don't comment on pending litigation. And
You know what the follow-up to that is, though?
He'll give you something like, the Rooney Rule is very important to us. The fabric of the league and hiring African-American candidates is very important to us. We take it seriously. On the specifics of these allegations, I can't comment on it. It's active litigation. Goodbye.
Yeah, but then you pivot towards, let's go with the tanking aspect of it. There's another NFL head coach, former NFL head coach Hugh Jackson, claiming he was asked
Well, he's
to lose.
backed off
Are
on
you
that.
concerned? Not the money aspect, not the
Yes, he
losing
now
aspect
says I
of
was
it.
not paid to
Right,
lose.
right, but the
they
tanking-
never gave me a chance to win.
Right. He will be asked about, hey, are you worried about teams around the league?
Of course I'm worried.
And then obviously the other thing is, if you don't want to comment on the lawsuit, okay, Roger, there's one black NFL head coach. Why? I think that's a good question. Why?
Yeah, great
How would you
question.
answer that if you're Roger Goodell? Why?
I'll have to look into the specific hirings that happened this past offseason. I think they're all worthy candidates who deserve the opportunity. I mean, that's what you're going to get.
No, you are right, though, that Roger Goodell talking
I
to the
didn't
media
say
will be a
nothing.
colossal waste of time, but
Yeah.
he will be pushed on some of these issues. If he gives us anything, probably not.
Yeah, I want to find out. We got it. It's funny. You know what's interesting about this, Evan? The Giants just. I know we got to take a break. We're going to be late. I apologize. All right, I'm going to play Matlock here just for a second. Okay? Is that fair for me to do?
I'd love it.
The text messages from Bill Belichick are part of the lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way anyone in the public knows they exist. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
How else
just
would we know?
Go with me on the bouncing ball for a second. I just Matlocked this whole thing. The Giants just made a mistake.
What's the mistake?
You ready for this? Nowhere in these text messages does it put a date on when when they were sent to Flores.
That's what I'm saying. There's no date.
How would the Giants know when they were sent?
Ask Flores. Bro, seriously, ask Flores' agent.
I'm going to.
You have his number right
I
now.
did.
During the break, say, do you know when that text message was sent? And then we can at least see, are the Giants accurate? We can decide, does that matter? But are the Giants even accurate? Because you're right. I figured I would go back into the lawsuit, Craig, and see a date.
Yeah.
But the
Right.
Giants put a date on it. Where'd they get the date from?
Pardon me.
What's the answer?
I want to just read what the Giants said today. And I want to be as fair as I can to the Giants on this because they deserve that. The text exchange between Belichick and, as it turns out, Brian Flores occurred the day before Coach Dable's in-person interview even took place.
And that was Tuesday, correct?
How do you know that?
Right.
It's not in the text message. Go ahead.
Well, if it wasn't given to them in that, couldn't they have subsequently went to Bill Belichick and said, when did you text them?
They're distancing themselves as far as they can
they're
from
saying
Bill
he has
Belichick.
his
No.
information.
But
Couldn't they
Big Mac,
say,
Big
why
Mac.
would you do that? When did you do it?
Unless I'm missing something, because I just went through the area around the lawsuit.
Right.
We don't see anywhere where it says when the text was sent.
Right.
Now, Brian Flores' agent will know. We're going to get an answer.
Right.
And we'll see if the Giants are right. Maybe the Giants know. I don't know.
Well, if the Giants know, I'm saying, how could they know? Couldn't they have went to Bill Belichick in the meantime since the lawsuit dropped and said,
They
when
could
did you
have.
send
They
those
now they
texts?
were, as Craig said, distancing themselves greatly from Bill
Yes.
in this statement. But sure, they could have asked Bill. But how else would they know?
Right?
I agree.
It's not
The
in the
date's not
lawsuit.
out
I'm
there.
looking for it, and I don't see it.
So how do the Giants know what day Brian Flores got the text message? They're not talking to Brian Flores, obviously, right?
Yep.
The lawsuit doesn't include it. How would they know?
Yeah,
By the way, I'm not saying they're wrong. How would they possibly know
I'm
that?
going through the lawsuit to see if it's mentioned at any point. I don't see it as of now. So at this point, I wouldn't know how they knew.
Right?
The only thing we know date-wise from the lawsuit is that on Wednesday, the 26th, Mr. Flores was forced to sit through a dinner with Joe Shane, the Giants GM, knowing they had already selected Mr. Daboll, and then Thursday, obviously, was his meeting. So it had to have occurred before Wednesday.
I'm just trying to play Matlock on it. I don't know.
Well, ask his lawyer.
I just
He'll
did. I just sent
definitely
him.
know.
I just sent him. I'll call him during the break. I
All
sent him
right,
a text.
and we'll get an answer.
All right, quick break. Well, that's interesting. Listen, I respect what the Giants are doing. They have no choice, and they may feel like they've done nothing wrong.
Well, if they've
regardless,
done if everything they said,
may have.
If they've done nothing wrong, never reached out to the agent, any of that, none of the skirting of the rules, then of course they should vigorously come out and defend themselves. I fully support
100%. And by the way, the NFL is going to side with them. That's a lock. That has no impact on the case. The NFL is going to side with the Giants. And that's fine. Has no impact on the case against them or the league itself from Brian Flores. But I just want to know how the Giants would know when Belichick texted Flores. It's not in the lawsuit. And Flores isn't telling them. So how do you distance yourself from Belichick? You must have called him and asked him.
Well, that's what Big Mac's saying, and that could be the only way. By asking him, saying, hey, when did you text him?
Right.
Well,
Right.
now I'm so
And
curious
I'm sure they're
to
curious
find.
where he got. If John Mara and the Giants honestly don't know where he got the information from, couldn't they? Don't you think they're curious?
Hey,
Not
Bill,
only- not
when
only-
did you text Brian
and
Flores?
and who's telling you this?
Right.
Because maybe they're as pissed as a leak as
Oh,
anyone.
I'm sure they
right.
are.
So it's like, who the hell is telling you
Yeah, but
who
wait,
we're hiring?
but go
And
back
when
to.
did you send the
I hate
text?
to bring him into it, but go back to Boomer. How'd Boomer find out he was offered a few days earlier?
He's not
So-
going to tell you that.
No, and I'm not saying he should, by the way. My point is that information was clearly out there.
Yeah.
Not just from Bill Belichick, but from Boomer that they had made the decision early in the week.
He said, right. A week earlier is, I think, what he said in the Sports Minute.
Early
Not-
in the week, he said they made the
I
decision.
don't want to interpret his words, but I believe that's
I mean,
what he
the
said.
words are the words. What do we interpret?
I just want to make sure he hears me say that.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Sometimes
listen,
knowing too much can be a bad thing, right?
the Giants have fought back. All right.
The
There you
Giants
go.
fight back.
That means we get another day out of this tomorrow. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait for the Super Bowl. And baseball better come back soon. See, Evan, I hooked you up there.
I don't believe you. That's the problem.
You're right. Thought I could sneak that one in.
I don't believe you.